Hi everyone, this is Sharifa Thar from SC Law Office and I am on live to answer your immigration questions. So if you see me, go ahead and drop your immigration questions in the comments and I will go ahead and answer your questions as they come in. So I am going to talk about a particular issue today, and that is I'm going to talk about applying for the green card on your own in the case that a legal permanent resident or a U.S. citizen spouse, a parent, or a citizen son or daughter 21 and up, they're refusing to apply for you. What are your options? So what I want you to know though is that while I am talking about this topic, if you have a question that's totally unrelated, but it is an immigration question, go ahead and put it in the comments. It could be based on anything, and I will go ahead and answer your question. So, your questions are my priority. Hi, Samantha. Go ahead, feel free, welcome and feel free to drop your questions in the comments and I will go ahead and answer your immigration related questions. It doesn't have to be related to the topic that I'm talking about. While the questions come in, I'm going to start with a topic, and that is how to qualify, how to apply for the green card and a work permit if you have a U.S. citizen or a legal permanent resident, spouse, parent, or citizen son or daughter who basically are mistreating you and refusing to apply for the green card for you. So in a case like that, if you are being mistreated and they're refusing to apply for you, then you can apply on your own by submitting the application, signing the applications on your own. You do not need to involve your relative at all. You can, okay. All right. So Samantha, I believe that is that consulates closing with expired visas. Are we still able to travel across borders into the U.S.? So, if you have expired, now I don't know if this is the immigrant visa, as in to come here and finish a green card process. But if you have an expired B1, a B2 visa, or any other type of visa, and it has expired, so any visa that has expired, you will have to get it reissued, or you'll have to go and get it renewed to be able to come into the country. Unfortunately, now I don't know if the consulates, I know they're closed. They are it depends on which country they're in and what their process is, but I believe they probably have limited the amount of appointments, and that has created a huge backlog. But if you do have maybe an emergency situation, you may still be able to get in. So my stepkids reside in Mexico but are U.S. citizens born here, can't get appointments. Any suggestions? So in this case, if you can get in touch with the consulates, because they are there to serve U.S. citizens. So if you can get in touch with them, you could go to the consulate website and see what their procedure is for U.S. citizens who are possibly in trouble in Mexico, to get in touch with the consulate, see how they would do their procedure to get in touch with the consulate, and see if you can let them know the situation, that your stepkids are there, they are U.S. citizens, and they're stuck in Mexico and they need to get back home to you. And see if they are willing to make an exception to help you to get back into the country. So that would be my suggestion, is to try it that way. So go to their website, see if they have a procedure for U.S. citizens, and then try from that approach. I'm so sorry that they're going through that right now. So please go ahead and drop your questions in the comments. So Terrell Bennett, thank you for tuning in. can I return to the US after 61 day overstay? So if you overstayed your visa, there is, so during the pandemic, especially during the initial lockdown, some countries closed down completely and wouldn't even take, for example, Jamaica would not even take their citizens for a few months. And some people couldn't travel out of the US. So in a case like that, the best thing that you could have done was applied for an extension. And there's a special form to apply for the extension. So the overstay 1539. So is that the form that you are referring to? But yes, there's a specific form that you would apply to extend your stay. If you submitted that form, and what happens is if you overstayed, exactly. So yes, so if you overstayed and you submitted the basically the application to get an extension, it would take some time to process that, but as long as you got that application in and there was no denial on that, then you could stay. So you would be able to stay and it would not be considered an overstay until they made a decision. And if you still stayed past the decision, so if they gave you a denial and you stayed past that decision, then that would be considered an overstay. Now, if it is considered an overstay, so if you did overstay after they denied that extension request and you still overstayed, because I'm going to repeat this, while you are waiting for a decision on the I-59 and then it goes over the date that you're permitted to be here, but you submitted this form, while you're waiting for that decision, it's not considered an overstay. But if for some reason it was denied or you stayed over the permitted time and you stayed 61 days over, okay, so you stayed, okay, I see. So in that case, you may have a problem. Coming back. So if you do come back, they may have questions for you about that. Or they may not. But what you could explain, you would definitely have to make sure you line up a good explanation as to why you stayed over the 61. I know you wanted to go home. And as long as you have a good reason why you didn't return home, that may work. But where you may have a problem is if you go for the renewal and to renew your visa and the officer sees that you overstayed by 61 days past the permission, you at that interview you would have to explain that the pandemic hit and you have to explain those circumstances. And the hurricane wiped out the island. So yes, and then they may ask, why didn't you submit why didn't you just submit another application? The good news though is that the 61, you didn't make it to 180 days. Had you overstayed over 180 days, then you would have been barred for 3 years from coming back to the US, and you'd basically automatically be tagged as inadmissible for 3 years. You didn't reach that 180 days, but that 61-day overstay may raise questions, and you have to make sure that you provide a good explanation. And even then, it may be a problem, but it could go either way. It could, the officers could let that go because of the circumstances, or they could look at it as a violation of the terms of your visa, and unfortunately it could spell trouble for you, especially if you're trying to renew the visa again. So Terrell, it's 2 kids. So the two kids, another thing is, so let me see. So I think you mean the two kids are also had the visa, overstayed the visa as well. You know, with the kids, with children, if they're under 18, they don't usually accrue unlawful presence. And in addition to that, okay, so yes. So in addition to that, it could still spell trouble for them as well. You know, unfortunately, it doesn't matter that they are the kids. They're still gonna look at what happened, and then if the officer does not take that explanation, it could be trouble. But at the same time, I don't want to make a conclusion because it could go the other way as well under the circumstances. So great. Please go ahead and drop your questions in the comments. Welcome to those who are here. I am U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharp, and I work at ST Law Office. I help, and my main goal is to provide services to immigrants who would like either a work permit in the United States or a green card. So Rand Steph 12, thanks for sharing my live. I really appreciate that. So you can go to the link in my bio. Great, Terrell Bennett 3. I'm looking forward to your call. So my number is 561-405-4889. You can also go to the link in my bio, and that will lead you to my website where you can learn more about me, what I do, and you will have my numbers at the top of the page, of each page, so you will have easy access to give me a call. Now, I am based in Florida. My office is Boca Raton, Florida. Thank you, Terrell Bennett 3, for sharing my live. I appreciate that. So my office is in Boca Raton, but I do represent clients all over the United States and even the world. So it doesn't matter where I am. It doesn't matter where you are. I can still work with you and represent you, because what we do is we work across borders with USCIS offices anyway. And so we practice federally as immigration attorneys. So my practice goes across state lines. So if you have an immigration question, that's why I'm here. I'm here to answer your questions. So go ahead and drop your questions in the comments, and it could be anything that's immigration related. I know that if you are thinking about going through the process or you're going through the process, you definitely have a question. I remember before I became an attorney, me and my husband went through the immigration process, and some questions that I had would keep me up at night. So I know there is the same thing that goes for you. So please go ahead and drop those comments. So I talk about a topic when I come on. As the questions come in, I will stop talking about my topic to prioritize your question. But I am talking about how to apply for the green card on your own without a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident spouse, parent, or a citizen's son or daughter who's 21 and up. In the case that your relative is mistreating you and refusing to file for the papers. Even if they've agreed to file for the papers, but you're facing mistreatment, you can file for the green card on your own. And when you do that, you can get a work permit while it's being processed, and not worry about whether this relative is going to, withdraw from your case, stop cooperating with your green card process. You don't have to worry about that because you're not going to involve them at all. You don't have to ask for their permission. The immigration service is not going to call them and verify information or notify them that you are applying for this green card based on their mistreatment of you. So usually the next question that comes with this is, well, what do I need? I don't have a police report. I don't have any evidence of the mistreatment. And what I can tell you is that is exactly where I work with clients, is where they are lacking evidence. I work with them to put together a good application anyway. Now, police reports, medical records showing injuries, pictures of injuries, those are not required. While that piece of evidence or those pieces of evidence are definitely useful, if you have been physically abused, it does not matter. If you're a U.S. citizen or green card holder, spouse or parent, or even a citizen, son or daughter who's 21 and up, if they are mistreating you, then you can, when I say mistreating you, I'm going to give you examples because the types of abuse, basically it differs based on your particular circumstances. It could even differ based on cultural experiences. But basically, when I talk about mistreatment, it could be verbal, it could be emotional, it could be psychological, and it could be financial. So, for example, in a financial case, they could be, dangling money over your head, not giving you enough money, or not wanting you to work so that they can continue to control you. With verbal abuse, if they're calling you names, putting you down, manipulating you, that also counts. With psychological, if they're alienating you, if they're isolating you from your family members, if you are being subjected, so if you are being blackmailed, so for example, if you refuse to cooperate with your spouse and they start to say, well, I'm going to get you deported, or I'm going to I'm not going to file the papers, that is not okay. Okay, so 1 user 6. What about public charges rules effective work permit? So let's see. So the public charge rule and the work permit. And you can correct me if I am not on the right path in answering your question. But does the public charge rule affect the work permit? It does not. You can still apply for the work permit. Where the public charge rule applies is usually in the evaluation of your application, but not the work permit. Usually when you're applying for a work permit, you're applying for it while you're applying for the green card in the United States, and they'll issue the work permit to you during the process, regardless of any public charge issues. But where it is important is when the officer is deciding your case, so you're deciding whether you should get the green card in the final stages of your application, and they feel like you have, maybe if you have something in your past where you've received public benefits, or they don't see that you make enough money, then and you or your relative who's sponsoring you, then that's where it could affect. You could get the officer could find that you're likely to become a public charge in the future. What that means is that you're likely to so your case is adjustment of status. So you'll get the work permit while the process is pending, and the public charge rule doesn't affect that work permit. But then when the officer is starting to make a decision on your case and they're evaluating whether you're likely to be a public charge in the future, that's where you want to be concerned, and that's where you have to make sure that you provide sufficient evidence to provide to the officer that you are not likely to become a public charge. And what that really means is that the officer wants to know that somewhere in your background as a whole, they're satisfied with the fact that you can, so for example, that you can work, you have the ability to work, your family has the ability to support you, that you sometimes they look at your education. So they look at different aspects of your background to determine whether your background will indicate whether you can work in the future to make enough money to support yourself, and also if your family can support you. So yes, it is a detailed evaluation, but it's not going to affect the work permit that you get while the green card process is pending. So great question. If you have a question, go ahead and drop your questions in the comments and I will go ahead and answer your question. Hi Ray King 39, you're welcome, one user 6. Hi King Ray King 39, it's nice to see you here. So I am here to answer your immigration questions. I am also talking about a topic until I start to see more questions come in. And that topic is applying for the green card on your own in the case that a U.S. citizen or a green card spouse or parent or a U.S. citizen son or daughter who's 21 and up, they're mistreating you, and at the same time you don't have your papers or you want your papers. So I talked about the evidence that can be shown. So some of this, nobody, hardly anybody calls the police for verbal abuse or psychological abuse, and they know that. So what they want is credible evidence to show that you are facing this mistreatment. And that's why I work with my clients to put together a good application. So some of that is the declaration, putting together a declaration. That's your detailed statement, but it is in a particular format. It is getting witness statements from family and friends that can talk about what they have witnessed, the mistreatment they have witnessed. In addition to that, if there, there's a possibility to get an expert opinion or a psychologist report on the fact that you went through mistreatment. So there are different ways to get the evidence in, and where their evidence is lacking. So keep that in mind. And then I also talked about what does mistreatment mean. So I would like you to look at it very broadly. Mistreatment doesn't mean that they're hitting you or even just name calling. It could be a number of a pattern of behavior against you that amounts to mistreatment. So it could be verbal abuse, psychological abuse, emotional abuse, even financial abuse, as in they're controlling you financially. If they're threatening you, saying they're going to get you deported or they're not going to file the papers if you don't do this, then that is permitted, and that does qualify for the VAWA. So if you're going through a situation like this, definitely give me a call and we can I can confirm that you qualify for this type of green card, and then we can go ahead and submit that, prepare the application and get it in. So right now it's taking about 2 to 2.5 years, and the work permit, it takes about 6 to 8 months right now to arrive after submitting the application or after getting an approval. So there are different steps. So the first is to submit the applications. When the applications are in, you wait for the basically the approval. When you get the approval, then you get your work permit, and then you are able to work while you wait on the final interview. And at the final interview is where you'll finally get your green card. So that process right now is taking about 2 to 2.5 years. And in some cases, you can actually bring your children. So even if your children are in another country, they can be included in the application without filing a separate application. So that is another perk of this type of application, is you can actually get your children here, if your children are under 21 and unmarried in some cases, they can also be included in that application. So I want to reiterate that I am taking your immigration questions. This is about you. So if you have a question, go ahead and drop it in the comments and I will gladly answer your immigration question. I am, for those of you who are joining in, maybe you don't know me, I am U.S. immigration attorney Sharifa Tharp, and I work at ST Law Office. You can go to the link in my bio, learn more about the law firm and about me and what I do, and how I serve my clients. So this is all the information I have for you, and I don't see any questions today, but please, this is before I sign out for the night, I want to make sure I answer your question. Now, if you don't have a question today, but you will ask a question or I've somehow missed your question, hold on to your question. And then what you can do is follow me and you will get notification when I go live. Once I go live, you can hop on immediately and start asking your questions, because every single time when I come on with the purpose to answer your immigration questions. So thank you for your questions today, and I am looking forward to seeing you again in the future. Tomorrow I try to come on as often as so Gaming Boyzod, thank you. It's good to see you here. Are they working on spouse visas at the moment, or it's on pause? So I believe the Biden administration had reversed the travel restrictions related to the COVID. So it should be starting up again. And this is they put on pause, and now the spouses of U.S. citizens, that is supposed to still that is still processing. However, relatives of legal permanent residents, that process was on hold due Trump's immigration restrictions, but I believe that he had reversed those restrictions, or some of those restrictions. So what you could do, Gaming Boyzod, is I know you have been having issues with your process. It's taking long. What you can do is call your the embassy, U.S. Embassy in Jamaica, and check with them on their process and what's going on with that. You could also call the National Visa Center, and they will also they could also provide you some input on their process and how long you should expect to wait. Okay, so I thought I saw one other message come in. But if I missed your question, so I don't see any more questions, but now is the time. So if you do have a question, just go drop it in the comments right now before I head out. What I usually do is I count to 5, and if I don't see any questions within 5, then I leave. If I somehow miss, okay, so Gaming Boyzod, it's been since the 20th of November, and all know I haven't gotten an interview date. I tried to call them, but no answer. You can also try to email them. Sometimes the best way is to email them, and usually there's a particular method to do this. If you go to their website, look to see what their method is, but it's usually to put your case number along with your name in the subject line, and they will usually give you an answer by email. So try that way and see if that works. I file adjustment status and I finish my fingerprints, so can I file my son join? So with this adjustment of status, it depends on what type of adjustment of status it is. If your son, now since you are not a green card holder yet, I don't believe you would be able to file for your son unless you are, so if you are, it depends on the type of application. So you can let me know what type. Is it based on your marriage, or is it based on VAWA, which is, so it's marriage based. So in this case, are you married to a US citizen? So and let me know that one user 6 if you're married to a US citizen, and then I can tell you how you can get your son on that application. Okay, and your son, and is your spouse a US citizen? Yes, okay. So unfortunately, when a U.S. citizen is filing for your green card and you're the spouse of the U.S. citizen, then that is the only category where you can't include your son. Unfortunately, but there is a big but. If your son is under 21, he qualifies as the stepchild of your U.S. citizen spouse. So he would qualify for the green card, but your U.S. citizen spouse will need to apply for him. And your U.S. citizen spouse could file for him even if he's over 21. But for him to apply as a fast, Foxy's quick glow. Okay, great. And it was, yes. So I am looking forward to talking to you. I'm looking forward to seeing you, and thanks for booking with me. So here's the deal. If your son is under 21, then he gets priority in the green card process. So if your U.S. citizen spouse submits the application for him, then he could come, he would go to the embassy and do the interview. There's a whole process involved, but he would have priority like you to get the green card. So he's under 15, great. And that means that you got married before he turned 18, so he qualifies as an immediate relative of a U.S. citizen. And he qualifies for the green card through your U.S. citizen spouse. So if you would like me to evaluate your case further, go ahead and give me a call at 561-405-4889, and I can help you go through your qualifications, the process that you will need to go through with your son, and how your U.S. citizen spouse can help him to get here faster. So go ahead and give me a call. My number is 561-405-4889. So go ahead and schedule, and we can talk about it a little bit more. But Toko in Lomé. What form do I need to file for my 10-year green card for marriage? So it sounds like you already have that. Do you have that 2-year? Do you have the 2-year conditional green card already? If you have that 2-year conditional green card, then yes, you do have to renew it, and you have to make sure you're welcome one user 6. If you renew it you have to renew it before the 2 years is up, of course, and you can do that within 90 days. If you're doing this without, now there are ways to do it without your spouse if your spouse isn't cooperating, and otherwise you have to do it jointly with your spouse. You would use the I-751 form. So I'm glad you asked Toko in Lomé, because if you're not supposed to use, there's another form that you would renew your regular green card. But if you're going from a 2-year green card to a 10-year green card, then you're going to use that I-751, and you're going to, when you're filing jointly with your spouse, you have to make sure that you file on time. That means apply within 90 days of the deadline, so the time that your card expires. However, if you're filing without your spouse, if you're having problems, you and your spouse are separated, then there are ways to do it without your spouse, and you can apply for that at any time. So if you are approaching the deadline, so if you are even a year ahead of the date your card expires, you can apply, but you have to apply based on a waiver. I don't know if that's the situation, but I'm just telling you just in case. So thank you for your questions. Go ahead and drop your questions. These are great questions, and please keep them coming. If I don't see any questions come in, I am going to check out for the night. I usually count to 5 to give whoever is considering their questions or whoever is typing in a question. I count to 5 to see if new questions come in. But if no new questions come in, I try to come on here daily to answer questions around this time, and I'm trying to get on around lunchtime as well. So I try to do twice a day. I don't always do it, but I always try, so at least once. What you can do is follow me, and when you'll get notice that I am live, and then you can hop on and ask your questions in the comments, and I will go ahead, prioritize your questions and answer them. That's the only reason I'm here, is to help to inform you and to answer your questions. So you can ask anything you want. That's it for me. Have a great night. I'm going to count to 5, and if I don't see any new questions come in by the time I get to 5, I'll see you tomorrow. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So so user 272, where am I located? I am in Boca Raton, Florida. I also offer meeting locations for my clients. However, I want to note that even though I'm in Boca Raton, hi Dark Horse 45, it's nice to see you. Even though I'm in Boca Raton, Florida, this is a federal practice. So immigration, as an immigration attorney, I practice across state lines, and I am very experienced with working with clients who are in California, in New Jersey, in different states, who are at distance from me. We still work together because I do have to file their applications in USCIS offices all over the country. So if you are not in Florida, it's okay. And that's okay. I can still help you with your immigration case. So no problem. If you have an immigration matter, I offer consultations by video, by phone, and in person if you're close by. So it works regardless of where you are. So what you can do is give me a call at 561-405-4889. Thank you for that question. And I just want to say again, Fox's Quick Glow, I cannot wait to see you, and I'm looking forward to assisting you. If there are no more questions for the night, I am going to check out. Sometimes the questions come in and they're very delayed, so I do miss those questions. However, if I miss your question, just know that it's not on purpose. And as soon as you see me go live, you can go ahead and drop your questions in the comments, and I will answer them as soon as they come in. So, and don't hesitate, because that's why I'm here. My sole purpose is to keep you informed and to answer your questions. All right, so thank you for tuning in. And if I missed your question, just hang on to it, and when I go live, you can ask again. Have a good night, everyone. Oh, so user 272, what is my price? So my price is $150 for up to an hour in a consultation where we go through your details and I advise. By the time you leave, you will know what you need to do, whether you need further representation, and you'll be fully informed about what you qualify for and how to go about it. NB Source, thank you for following me. Thank you. And that way you can keep an eye on me. Now, what I want to say about this is I do these consultations and I require consultations first because it is a small price to pay to learn about how you qualify and also to help you to avoid mistakes. Because as you know, as going through the immigration process, it can be so easy to make a mistake, and that can turn into become very devastating. Where I've seen devastating issues is where individuals apply for a benefit that they don't qualify for, or they miss something in the application, or they don't apply for something they qualify for, and then they face consequences later on. So I really offer this, require this first to talk to you about how you qualify or talk to you about a particular issue that you may be experiencing. And then from there, if you need representation, I also offer you that as well. So thank you for your question. Caprice Wiggins, it's nice to see you here. So with that, I am going to close out the night. It's always nice to close out my night with you all. So thank you for tuning in, and hold on to your question for next time. Have a good night, guys.